The smash hit mobile game app Pokémon GO has only been out for a few days, but it's already got millions following their smartphones to the most random places.
It's the new national obsession.
A revolutionary smartphone game or a potentially lethal fad.
People across America and even the world are taking to the streets looking for these little animated critters.
Pikachu! Pikachu!
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
During the 2010s, April Fool's Day pranks were extremely popular online.
Our flamed grilled Whopper is so good that some people will do anything to keep the taste in their mouth. Whopper toothpaste. Keep your mouth Whopper fresh 24/7.
Some companies would release fake products, create fake commercials, and some internet companies would even change their entire website for the day.
It was the early days of social media, so people would just lose their minds when they'd see a company be fun on Twitter.
Oh my god, dude, did you see that Wendy's said bye Felicia to Burger King?
I want a Frosty right now.
Let's go buy some Frosty. Sure, I guess it's fun sometimes, but in reality, companies just jump on it to get free advertising.
For example, Burger King announced the left-handed Whopper back in the 90s.
In 2015, Samsung introduced a smartphone that doubled as a kitchen knife.
And on April Fool's Day 2014, Google decided to release a joke that would change gaming on smartphones forever.
At Google, we seek to hire the most exceptional people. Today, we're announcing a new job role and challenge. Pokémon Masters are the world's greatest digital explorers, and their passion for exploring will take our maps to the next dimension.
Now, using the technology created by the Google Maps team, we've prepared the most rigorous test known to man to find the world's best Pokémon Master.
Now, for the people watching that aren't in the year 2014, this probably looks familiar to the wildly successful mobile game Pokemon Go. But this isn't Pokemon Go. This video was released over 2 years before anyone would download the app onto their phone.
In reality, this prank was a simple and fun addition Google made to Google Maps for April Fool's Day.
All they did was place images of different Pokemon all over the world, and if you tapped on one, you'd catch it. But that was about it.
None of this was real. So the prank was that they showed the public a game they desperately wanted to play, exploring the real world to catch Pokemon.
And then we're like, we didn't make that game, you idiot. It doesn't exist. Laugh. It's funny. Thank you.
So of course the reaction from anyone that's played Pokemon or just wanted to experience the game in the real world was just like, make the game.
The joke's not funny, we just want to play the game. And in 2015, people with Pikachu plushies sitting next to a mound of unfolded laundry in their apartment finally had their prayers answered.
So yes, the April Fool's joke caused people to demand that they make the real thing. But it's actually not as simple as Pokemon Go being made directly from the video.
One of the original founders of Google Earth, John Hanke, had a dream of making a video game for smartphones that incorporated real-world map data. So he and a small team inside Google were brought together to make a development company named Niantic. Niantic's first project was Ingress, a game that used real location data, AR, and real-world landmarks and locations to get people out of their homes and explore the real world.
Ingress is a giant game of capture the flag,
where you play a video game but in real life,
where the board is like the surface of the earth.
There's nothing really like it out there.
You actually have to go out into the real world to play the game.
Does that sound familiar to you?
I mean, it sounds like Pokemon Go without
the Pokemon. It's
Pokemon
Go without the Pokemon, yeah. But Google didn't see Ingress as a commercial success, so Hanke started looking for a more recognizable property like Mario or Donkey Kong to attract a bigger audience.
Coincidentally, around the same time, a Google employee in Tokyo had the idea for a Pokemon Google Maps April Fool's joke. When Hanke saw the joke, he was like, Holy fuck, that's exactly what I'm trying to make right now.
We don't know that he exactly said that, but he probably said
something similar.
So with massive public outcry behind him, Hanky then reached out to the Pokemon Company about making a fully fledged Pokemon mobile game, and they loved the idea.
So on September 9th, 2015, like we saw, Pokemon Go was officially announced to the public with a concept trailer for the game. And people went fucking nuts for this trailer. It currently sits at 48 million views alone. And on July 6, 2016, the dream of Pokemon fans around the world...
the game only launched in the US, New Zealand, and Australia at first.
The dream of Pokemon fans in the US, Australia, and New Zealand finally became a reality. And to just call Pokemon Go a success would be a massive understatement.
We don't have the stats for the first day downloads, but in the first 7 days, it had become the most downloaded mobile app in the first week of release in the history of the App Store.
As Pokemon Go entered its second day, it started to snowball into an international sensation. One guy even played it while his wife was in labor. He told BuzzFeed that he took the photo while he and his wife were waiting for her C-section to begin.
As soon as it popped up, I was like, oh my gosh, there's a Pidgey sitting on your bed. So I screenshot it and then caught it and showed it to her.
Buddy.
Man.
Now is not the time.
It's a Pidgey, dude.
While some commenters criticized him for, quote, playing a stupid game while my wife is in labor, he said she wasn't mad at all.
She just kind of laughed at it, he said. It was primarily an eye roll when she realized what I was doing. Oh man, is that what she said?
Buddy, you're in the doghouse tonight. Probably the most memorable part of the start of Pokemon Go was the energy of people playing it for the first time during the first weekend it came out. The game had been out for a few days and was dominating talk online, like on Twitter or YouTube, but what was truly special about this weekend is even though it was wildly popular, it hadn't hit the mainstream just yet.
So when you and your friends were out playing the game, there was this inherent joy of running into someone in real life who was as excited as you were to play the game.
During the first few days, these interactions were a complete surprise. The news hadn't reported on it yet, late night shows hadn't worked jokes about it into their monologue, so these social interactions were organic. But when millions and millions of people are all starting to gather outside, all at the same time, for the same reason, it's only a matter of time before things start to get crazy. Wait, hold on. Tony just texted me while sitting next to me and said, Pepperoni Tony needs a more money for a pizzas? So I guess a word from our sponsor. Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. Guys, it's the holidays. You know, Santa's gonna be coming down your chimney, and you'll be too busy getting the milk and cookies ready to cook your own meals. With Factor, skip the extra trip to the grocery store and the chopping, prepping, and cleaning up with Factor's fresh, never frozen meals. Ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat up and enjoy. Skip the stress of meal prepping over the holidays while choosing from 35 plus weekly flavor-packed meals that support a healthy lifestyle and meet your meal preferences. All delivered right to your door. Factor cuts down on grocery trips and cooking, so there's more time for you to get into that hot outfit for Santa. You know the one. Like Santa, Factor is so flexible. You can easily adjust your order size, enjoy with loved ones, or even skip a week when you have a special event. Head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code BURBACK50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. That's code BURBACK50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Can you put in a code, sweetheart? Is that too hard for you? Back to the video.
On July 8th, just 48 hours after the app launched, a teenage girl was playing Pokemon Go in a small town in Wyoming.
She was walking along a river looking for Pokemon when she came across a dead body.
Finding someone dead won't stop Wiggins playing Pokemon Go.
Are you still gonna go walk down by the river trying to catch Pokemon?
Yeah, I might go get a water Pokemon.
Looks like Team Rocket strikes again. Back to you, Eddie.
But the chaos was only just beginning. People were already so into the game that they were publicly tweeting about driving while playing. One person on Twitter said, I probably shouldn't be playing Pokemon Go while driving, but it's too addicting. And I mean, look at this. Oh, you know, now that I see it, it's a Venonat. So, go ahead and drive.
Hell, do it in a school zone. The first Saturday of Pokemon Go is when we really started to play the game, and it came out at a perfect time in our lives.
Because in 2015, Tony and I graduated high school, but couldn't afford to go to any other college other than community college. Shout out to the American education system. When community college started for us, it was an experience of seeing almost everyone we knew our age go off and start their adult lives as we kind of stuck back and went to school.
And when you don't even know what you're doing at community college and all your friends move away, it kind of sucks.
But lucky for us, our community college had a degree program for being twins recording gaming videos in front of a green screen in your apartment.
What are the odds?
The luck we experienced. Suddenly, our area that was socially dead pretty much all year was starting to fill with young people walking around, gathering at parks, and talking to strangers.
And that first day we played was a great time. We met up with friends, we walked around, we met other people playing. It was really fun.
Meanwhile, people around the world, or at least the select countries that they launched the game in, were so hooked that they played the game late into Saturday night and even into the early hours of Sunday morning.
And at 2 a.m., Missouri police responded to a call at a CVS parking lot where 4 teenagers were using a lure in-game to lure people into an armed robbery.
These 3 teens, as well as a 16-year-old, were arrested for armed robbery, accused of manipulating the game and luring players to remote locations before robbing them at gunpoint.
Now, for people that don't know, a lure is an item in the game that at the time was mostly gained by spending real-world money through the app. Once you had one, you could place it on a Pokestop and it would lure Pokemon in-game toward your real-world location, making it a really good spot to be if you're trying to catch Pokemon. Other players in the area could see the lure on that Pokestop and go to it to reap the rewards as well.
Emily, our producer here, she loves this game, and she's going to set a lure for us to see if we can attract Pokemon and other players. All right, so let's set that. Boom. Sure enough, within a few minutes, a crowd had gathered.
So the Pokemon lure in-game doubled as a people lure in real life.
The Monday following launch weekend would fuel the Pokemon Go fire more than any day in the entire summer.
Because over the weekend, local and national news were writing and filming their Pokemon Go segments, all racing to show the world the excitement and dangers of this new craze.
Pokemon Go is a game sending players to real-world locations to capture virtual creatures, but it's also having some unintended consequences.
There are already reports that one man in the US fell off his skateboard while playing the game.
The game warns players at the beginning to be alert at all times, but on social media, injuries are posted as badges of honor. Pokemon characters are also showing up in unexpected places, like the delivery room and next to police at a protest in Oakland.
Any type of negative or fear-mongering take that you can think of, a news station did a segment on.
Monday was also the first day the stock market had opened after the Pokemon Go craze had exploded over the weekend. So Nintendo saw its stock price jump higher in one day that it had since 1983. Wait, does Nintendo own Pokemon?
We'll get to that later.
But the insanity of Pokemon Go didn't stop after its launch week. The following days and weeks were a seemingly never-ending series of insane Pokemon Go-driven events.
On July 14th, a group of women in San Diego were looking for Pokemon in a park near a creek when they found another dead body.
They were out here in the park. It was a girls' day. They came out here for a hike and they were playing Pokemon Go while they were out here and stumbled on a decomposing body.
But don't worry, a spokesperson for the San Diego Police Department cleared up the confusion by stating that that's not part of the game.
Oh, thank God. July 16th, just 2 days later, a man was playing Pokemon Go in a park in Nashua, New Hampshire, when he found
yet another dead body.
The man's body was found in Salmon Brook near Rotary Park in Nashua.
It's my understanding that the person who found the victim was actually playing the Pokemon game.
We're at 3 dead bodies in the last 10 days if you lost count. July 18th, 2 days after that, a kid is playing Pokemon Go while driving and crashes into a police car while the cops are standing right next to it. He then gets out of the car and says,
2901 Eastern Avenue.
Dude, we are not your lawyers, but don't tell the cops
Don't
that.
tell the cops that, man. And by late July, Nintendo had to clarify that it did not, in fact, own Pokemon Go, which caused Nintendo's stocks to plummet from the heights it reached due to the game they didn't make. And it was around that time that we, and maybe a lot of you, started to slow down on playing Pokemon Go.
The crowd started to thin, the news stories slowed down, and the craze of this game's explosion began to pass.
The app was fun, but at the time its gameplay loop was pretty bare bones. So when it lost the social drive that made it a worldwide phenomenon, there wasn't much reason to stick around if you weren't a dedicated Pokemon fan.
Also, at that point, I was a little afraid of finding a dead body.
Okay, I was actually really afraid of finding a dead body.
I'm always afraid of finding a dead body, whether it's Pokemon Go or not. So whether you're still playing Pokemon Go, just played it when it launched, or never really even checked it out, you can't deny that there was something special happening that July in 2016.
There's a reason people still make the joke that Pokemon Go is the closest we've ever gotten to world peace. Because beyond the odd dead body or two,
Team Rocket.
It was a time where millions of people were gathering in public spaces to do a fun activity together.
And here's where the Burback brothers are gonna get real preachy, because if you played the game and you missed this time, it's probably not just because you love Pokemon and you love that everyone was playing the game. It's most likely because we've lost a lot of these community aspects in our culture.
Pokemon Go started as fantasy fulfillment for lifelong Pokemon fans, allowing them to explore the world and catch Pokemon like Ash from the TV show or their characters from the video games.
But it actually ended up fulfilling basic needs people long for in our current culture. Walkable communities, face-to-face social interactions, sunlight, welcoming public spaces, the outdoors, running into friends coincidentally, working together on something. As two people in America who stayed back in our suburbs for community college, we really didn't have a sense of community other than a few friends who stayed back as well after high school. And also, I'm not gonna hang out at my community college, okay? The only thing we could do to fill our time really was I made YouTube videos and both of us played and talked about video games, and look what that did for us. Nothing.
If only that could have gone somewhere.
Can you make money on that?
Really? You make money off that? If you played Pokemon Go, think back on your favorite memory from that summer. I doubt it's something that happened to you in the game. It's probably a fond memory of something that happened in real life while you were playing.
It's also pretty depressing that the only thing that gave all of us a widespread sense of community in the 2010s was an app of the most profitable franchise in history. Also, the fact that you had to be glued to your phone while you did it.
As we entered the 2010s, social media offered a fantasy of supplying these public spaces and social interactions online. Obviously, social media being fulfilling remained exactly that, a fantasy.
Sometimes it's the last thing I want to hear, but getting off something like Twitter and going outside for a walk has a 100% success rate in making my life better. And I think at the end of the day, we should be applauded as heroes for saying social media is bad and go for a walk. I think we're the first to say it.
You're welcome.
Pokemon go to the outside.
Hey!
Pokemon go get off of Twitter. Pokemon go do your job as a police officer on patrol, but instead of being on patrol, play Pokemon Go and chat about it while the body cams are rolling and get caught years later.
Now at 11, the LAPD releasing some shocking new video showing the moments two LAPD officers ignored a backup call about a robbery and instead played Pokemon Go. This all happened back in 2017 when the exchange was caught on the digital camera inside their squad car. The officers continued to ride around and talk about catching the Pokemon character Snorlax.